our annual meeting and we'll take stock of what has happened, what are some of the threats, what are some of the issues, like the whole list of countries I gave you. Guinea-Bissau was supposed to have elections last year, it didn't. So how are we going to deal with Guinea-Bissau? There's elections coming up in Cote d'Ivoire, and there's this tension because President Ouattara has indicated or not indicated he's going to go for another term, in which violates the constitution. So all these countries, what are we going to do with them? And that's more a short-term issue. The bigger issue is ECOWAS's own reform. ECOWAS says they want to move from the ECOWAS of states, where it's all about the heads of states, to an ECOWAS of the people. What does that mean? What kind of reform do we need in ECOWAS so that we can deal with this narrative that, strongman syndrome is better for Africa? Somebody that has military power, authoritarian power, not accountable to anybody, and they'll deliver. And then we have all this misinformation and disinformation going around that somehow it is just great to have military leaders.
So briefly, if I could...
ECOWAS in its current state can even do that on its own. I think what we are making the point is that it has to take citizens to support ECOWAS to do that. So ECOWAS should make room for more citizen engagement. So in the speech from ECOWAS, for example, they talked about that they're going to have a special summit to look at the reforms. ECOWAS is 50 years this year. They talked about that, they're going to create the facility for civil society to be part of the decision making. But and then even that they are reviewing the supplementary protocol, on democracy and good governance. The point is, where are the citizen participation in that? Who is having this conversation about what kinds of rules can we all agree, so that if Togo is misbehaving, we can enforce the law against that person and say that no, that's not what we agreed, and therefore these are the sanctions that will apply to you. So if that process is not open to allow citizens to participate in it, then we are going to have the same mistakes that we made in the past, where it's only the heads of states that go and make a decision. And because they have their self-interest, they are not going to promote an ECOWAS of the people. So those are the things that we want to be engaging on. So I think that in the last couple of years, particularly maybe the last 2 years, we've seen the unraveling of the democracy situation in the sub-region. In 2022, when we established WADEMOS, almost having a sense that we were having problems in the sub-region, and therefore civil society needed to come together regionally to coordinate and solidarize. Now, as almost immediately that we set it up, we began to see even more problems. So Guinea went, Niger came after, and so on. So, and since that time, even countries that are where you have constitutionally constituted governments, a lot of their behavior has been very authoritarian. They've closed the spaces for civic participation, civic voice. People can't speak. People are afraid. A lot of them have tried to extend their terms. So even for those people who share the military government, they say, but if even those who are in a democracy are behaving like that, then what's the difference? And that has weakened ECOWAS, because the ECOWAS doesn't have the moral voice to be able to say, no, stop what you are doing, or even intervene. So it's made it very, very difficult. And if ECOWAS doesn't take a bolder step in trying to apply the rules and for people to be compliant with democratic principles, then it will be very difficult for ECOWAS to sustain itself. So I was making the point that it's not just the 3 countries that have left that is the problem. Just recently, Guinea-Bissau. Now you have a political crisis, a constitutional crisis. The president's term has ended. He is refusing to go. He sacked parliament, and ECOWAS goes there with the delegation. He sacks ECOWAS. Togo has changed its constitution to create a system that is going to allow President Ford to basically start another term. And he's been there for a while. Benin is having issues. Cote d'Ivoire, President Ouattara is indicating he's going for a fourth term. So if you look at the whole ECOWAS region, it makes it very difficult then to really deal with this unconstitutional control, the overthrow of governments. And what we are trying to do is that we cannot leave this challenge to just politicians. I think citizens have to take an interest, but because as I was saying, you might think that you're not going to be affected. But when jihadists are crossing from Burkina Faso into Ghana, it becomes a problem. If people can't trade in their neighboring countries, it becomes a problem. We are promoting free movement of people. We are promoting integration. How are we going to do this with all the insecurity that's going on? So for us, we are set up to mobilize civil society across the sub-region to really have an interest and participate in the decision making. That's why for almost a couple of years now, we've been urging ECOWAS that they should form this economic social platform, which is a formal decision making process for civil society, to be part of the ECOWAS process so that we can help ECOWAS sort of rebuild. Because at the moment, the threats are many and we cannot solve our sub-regional problems without ECOWAS, without a regional platform. So it's not an option. I think for us, we recognize that we have to help ECOWAS deliver this. Otherwise, we are all going to suffer for it.
Okay, so what?
You can equate Muhammad was evaluating governance in Ghana. It continues to be a model for this continent. You equate him in terms of popularity, in terms of support, in terms of applause, with a good leader. And I'm going to characterize him because I say one of these days I might go to Burkina Faso. So, the challenges to ECOWAS relevance have become more pronounced with the announced withdrawal of Mali Niger that we know already to form the alliance. And they are giving them 6 months. It will go beyond. If you give them 2 years, they will still be in the same place. Argentina and I organized a meeting in Dakar recently where we were trusted by the president to see what are the possibilities, what sort of interventions can we make to really encourage the ASF countries from going ahead with their initiative. I think 2 weeks later, they formed a bank. So really they are way on their way. And they, as I said, some of them are getting support from that population, which is serious. Yet among these challenges, civil society continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience and innovation. Civil society organizations led by Argentina, and so on, and we encourage you to continue to do this. In 2024, last year alone, pro-democracy movements organized over 230 peaceful demonstrations across the region. Remarkable. 230, so we continue. Now we will make it 460 if we have the chance and the ability to do so. Pro-democracy movements organized over, as I said, this tremendous number of meetings. Digital activism has expanded with social media campaigns reaching millions and creating unprecedented accountability mechanisms. The West Africa Civil Society Forum registered a 28% increase in cross-border solidarity initiatives compared to the previous year. And we commend WADEMOS in this respect. On top of that, we will continue this upward trend. The WADEMOS network itself represents a powerful example of this solidarity, growing from 35 to 45 member organizations since its launch in 2022, and successfully implementing regular advocacy campaigns that have influenced policy decisions at both national and ECOWAS. I now after leaving the UN, I've created the Africa Governance Institute, and I now pledge my support, membership, and support for WADEMOS, and we will from henceforth really participate actively in making sure that we the level and targets that we are seeking. As we confront these realities and deliberations, must focus on concrete evidence-based strategies for revitalizing the democratic project in West Africa. We must address the governance development nexus more effectively, recognizing that citizens evaluate democracy not just by electoral processes, but by the ability to deliver inclusive development, security, and justice. Recently, which I must quote, was really credit to the others, must give credit to my own also. Our own institute shows that countries with strong and independent democratic institutions experience 18% higher foreign direct investment, 24% higher tax revenue collection, and significantly better service delivery outcomes than their counterparts with weaker institutions. That's why I'm preaching to the converts. When you know this, but it's good to repeat it so that those who may prefer Traore or Mahama know the mistake that they're making and they will realize it later on. I urge the gathering to develop actionable recommendations for strengthening democratic resilience to 1. Economic governance reforms that prioritize initiative, inclusive growth, and equity. 2. Enhanced civil society participation in regional decision-making process. And this is important. You know, it's vital that civil society plays an active role in this. 3. Digital innovation for civic engagement and transparency. Lastly, strengthening regional mechanisms for protecting democratic norms. I think WADEMOS should lead this and really make this a template for all civil society organizations in this, particularly in this sub-region. And we should stand ready to work with you on this. As we deliberate over these 2 days, let us remember that democracy's greatest strength is the capacity for self-correction and renewal. Despite the current headwinds, our commitment in democracy values must remain unshaken and strong, and supported by all of us. As we deliberate to this, the Africa Governance Institute pledges to support these efforts through our research capacity building, and policy activities. Together, through solidarity and strategic action, we can reverse this democratic backsliding and build this inclusive, responsive, and resilient domestic systems in our region, in West Africa. I think this.
Warm greetings at the annual conference on behalf of the ECOWAS Peace, Security and Governance Project, which is co-financed by the European Union and the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. The EPSG project is implemented by GIZ, FIA, which is the Spanish Development Cooperation and Expertise Funds. The project is committed to enhancing peace, security, and governance in the ECOWAS region through 5 priority areas: conflict prevention, security sector reform and governance, support for electoral and democratic transitions, women, youth, peace and security, and strengthening regional trading infrastructure. The threats to democracy in West Africa today are deeply concerning. In addition to unconstitutional changes of government and electoral disruptions, the rapid shrinking of civic spaces has become a defining challenge. Across the region, restrictive laws, judicial harassment, internet shutdowns, and violence against activists, journalists, and opposition voices have severely weakened democratic engagement. In an electoral context, these restrictions undermine transparency, stifles political competition, and erode public trust in institutions. Without active civic participation in an open democratic space, elections lose their credibility and democracy itself is put at risk. At such a critical moment, building solidarity among civil society organizations is not just necessary, it is urgent. WADEMOS gathering today provides a crucial platform to reflect on how civil society can respond to these challenges through transformative and collective actions. Social movements have emerged as a powerful force for domestic renewal. Across West Africa, we have seen how mass mobilization, whether through pro-democracy protests in Senegal and Guinea, youth-led electoral advocacy in Nigeria, or grassroots movements pushing back against constitutional manipulations, have shaped governance, debate, and resisted democratic backsliding. These movements have reinforced the principle that democracy belongs to the people and must be protected by the people. They offer innovative approaches to reclaiming civic space, holding leaders accountable, and ensuring that democratic governance remains resilient. EPSG recognizes that credible elections are central to democratic stability and remains committed to supporting electoral integrity and democratic transitions in the region. We are open to collaborating with organizations working to defend democratic norms, strengthen electoral institutions, and amplify citizen voices in governance. As we engage in today's discussions, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to democracy, resilience, and collective action. By working together, we can chart a course for a more democratic, inclusive, and stable West Africa. Thank you.